Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Coincidence? I think not. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere, even at 30,000 feet. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
No purchase necessary. VGW. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
We made this.
Hello and welcome to We Are Starfleet, the We Made This Podcast Network's Star Trek podcast, or one of them anyway, one of two. I'm your host, back in the captain's chair, Craig McKenzie, to discuss the first part of the two-part season finale for Star Trek Prodigy Season 1. And joining me is the actual captain, but he's stepping in as a holographic training program today. It's Mike Slammer. Hello.
Hello, I'm still out on the holodeck, still stuck in here, can't get out for some reason, might need some singing Murph to help me out of it. How are you doing today, Craig? I got to apologize, I'm a little late to our recording session, so egg on my face a little bit. I was just having too much fun in the holodeck, what can I say?
I'm doing good. It's very cold in Scotland at the moment, but okay.
It's pretty cold here in the US too, in the Northeast. Temperatures just keep dropping. What is it over in Scotland right now? You got snow, rain?
At the moment, it's dry. It snowed and rained yesterday, got a bit of everything. Apparently, it's 3 degrees, according to my phone.
Oh my God. Oh, no, thank you. No, thank you. You guys are Celsius and we're Fahrenheit. If I were to convert it, it's around 3 degrees. So I feel you.
Yeah, just cold.
Supernova. I'm going to need some heat from those phasers, Craig.
Yeah, Supernova Part 1, which is our episode, the first part of the two-part finale. Side note as well, the video game that was released tying into Prodigy is also called Supernova, but the events are not connected.
Hold on. There's a Prodigy video game?
Yep, it's out on PS4, Xbox, Switch, and PS5. I think that's all it's out on.
Oh, Googling right now.
I've played some of it. It's okay, but I think it's designed for players who are a lot younger than I am. So I found it really repetitive and I played like 2 levels and thought, I'll come back to this at some point.
Fair. Okay, I'm going to have to watch the trailer. Okay, race against time to save an alien system from being destroyed by a supernova. Looks like a 2-player co-op game. That could be interesting.
Yeah, you can play it co-op.
Fun. Did you ever play Elite Force?
Yeah, I've played Elite Force. I've played most of the Star Trek games, actually. It was at its best when Activision had the license.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, man, I miss those days. Today's Star Trek games are all mobile games, free to play, in-app purchases. I don't really care for any of them, to be honest with you. I know Star Trek Online is one of the biggest free-to-play MMORPGs, and I should love it because of Star Trek, custom ships and the uniforms. But the playing is just so janky. The controls and the mechanics of it are kind of meh.
Yeah, I played online for a while when it first came out. I paid for 3 months and then I basically finished the game as it was at that point and I just never went back to it.
Yep. I'm just not into a game where they drip content at you as they see fit and it just goes on forever. But then again, I play Overwatch, so who the hell am I to talk?
Or anybody that plays Fortnite will know the pain of constantly paying for a game.
Exactly.
They've never done a Star Trek Fortnite team up. I'm surprised. Maybe that'll come.
I'm sure it's in the works somehow. That game is just perpetual for kids. It will exist forever, I feel. Just like Minecraft.
Yeah. But anyway, that's besides the point. We're here to discuss televised Star Trek, not video game Star Trek. So Supernova Part 1, as I've said, it's the Part 1 of our 2-part epic finale. So what did you think of this, just as a high-level thing? What's your thoughts on the first part of this 2-parter?
High-level thoughts. This very easily could have been an episode of Star Trek Discovery with the armada of ships all surrounding one ship and the back and forth between all the characters and the action on the bridge. I loved a lot of the classic Treknobabble that we got where they're trying to solve the problem and at the same time, everything's going completely chaotic around them. It was really good use of those thematic elements that Star Trek has always held true. Cooperation through dialogue. We can do this together. And that was really really on display in this episode, even though by the end of it, things got worse and worse and worse. Just really exciting penultimate episode that Star Trek is really known for in these modern era Trek shows. Part 1 of Part 2 always seems to kick really hard. So I'm a little burned because Part 2 of these two-parters sometimes don't pay off. And I kind of feel like maybe Prodigy's going to break that trend for me a little bit, because the way that this episode shook out, the chemistry of the characters, the tense moments, really good stuff. And this is a kid's show, Greg. We shouldn't be calling it a kid's show.
It's definitely not a kid's show. I think it's just for people that enjoy Star Trek, and it is obviously aimed at a younger audience. But I'm watching it and thinking, I don't know what your target audience is, but if you're 8 years old, you're probably going to struggle to follow some of this stuff. I'm not saying that young viewers are naturally stupid, but I think they're throwing a lot of complex stuff in there that maybe when you're that age, you just won't care about. I suppose there's enough exciting visual stuff for you to kind of gloss over it. And then if you watch it when you're older, you'll get it.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, Avatar: The Last Airbender brought in a multitude of different characters, different settings. Some episodes were really fast paced, some were slower, some were kind of funny, and some were really intense and emotionally powerful. I think that show has stood the test of time, and Prodigy is following in the same footsteps.
Oh yeah, I watch a lot of animated shows, and the best ones are ones that anybody can watch because they give you a bit of everything. And this particular episode, I thought it was thrilling. I thought it was really well written. I thought it was firing on all cylinders to build up to the finale. Obviously, the finale may end up letting it down if they don't pay it off properly. But in terms of getting us to that midpoint, it was brilliantly done. And you said it was similar to, or it could have been an episode of Discovery, and I do agree with that, although I actually feel like Prodigy is doing everything the live action shows do but better, because it's using a legacy character better than Picard is with Janeway. Yes. It's doing emotional storytelling more naturally than Discovery does. Maybe Strange New Worlds has it on the exploration side. They haven't done a ton of exploration yet, but even then it just feels more focused than any of the live action stuff we've had.
It's a very tight-knit story, yes.
Yeah, so I loved this. I was on the hook right from minute one almost, and I really can't wait to see how it ends. It's been killing me not being able to see it. So it's done its job. It's made me sit there and think, oh God, what's going to happen next?
It's a very compelling cliffhanger.
In the 90s Trek, we would have had to wait a whole season to see the second part of this.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It would have landed in the spring. We would have been jonesing for any bit of news. When are they going to come back? And then a year later, after you've forgotten all about it,
then someone will jump out of the way of a beam being fired at them, and then that's the resolution or something.
Exactly.
Okay, can't believe I waited 4 months for that. Great, thank you. I'm thinking of Equinox, where Janeway was about to get hit by one of those creatures, and the resolution is she just jumps out of the way.
Just jumps out of the way. Oh, man. I miss the 90s.
So the opening minutes of the episode is actually a perfect summation of everything that's led us to that point, where it's disguised exposition through the characters just explaining what's going on. And I think they do it really well because it is all very in character. The whole, well, at least Janeway knows what's going on. Well, actually, maybe she doesn't because I was an idiot last week and here we have this problem.
Yeah.
This is all Dal's fault, I think we can conclude.
Yeah, definitely. And there's something to be said for our main protagonist in Dal kind of being the crux of the problem, I would say, is good storytelling.
Yeah. Although I didn't buy last week that he wasn't able to blend in at all. He just made no attempt to even do it.
Yeah. I really like seeing when the episode opens and everything is kind of being summarized really quickly. You got Janeway in the brig begging, pleading, let me out. We cannot open Hales. That will be the end of us. It was really compelling argument that she's trying to give. And you've got this ensign guarding the brig, which Easter egg actually winds up being somebody else.
Yeah.
Really fun intro. And then we splash back to the Prodigy, the bridge. You got them all surrounded by this giant Starfleet armada. CBS really loves putting every single Starfleet ship on screen as much as they can.
Yeah, it was really good seeing this stuff. And did you notice the actual Defiant there?
I did. Did you also notice? Well, to be fair, the USS Sovereign actually flies in later, but it is there.
That's towards the end when everything's getting worse.
Yeah.
But you see the actual Defiant, and it just made me wonder, who's on there and why is it there if you're not going to give us who's inside there, who's captaining that ship?
Exactly. But then again, this isn't the Defiant's story.
No, but it could have just been a Defiant rather than the Defiant.
It Could have been, but it was definitely very clear and obvious.
It's just a shame that we didn't get to see who was crewing it at that point. Is it Worf? Is it Kira? Is it whoever? I don't know.
That's fair. What did you think about all of the dialogue in these scenes?
So I was a bit confused by some of it because you have the bit where they're talking about, right, we need to make sure that they don't get our shields down because otherwise we'll be boarded. And I was just thinking, but you being boarded by Starfleet's a good thing because that means you negate the whole need to hail. So you can just explain to whoever comes aboard what's going on.
That's true. Although in the thick of the situation, it makes sense that they'd be like, no, don't come here. Maybe set up a lot of signs and arrows pointing them to the construct and just hide out, and just be like, hey, it's not us. I swear.
Yeah, do not touch.
Don't touch this. We're trying to save you guys.
Or get the Janeway hologram to explain it.
Exactly.
But it was good in terms of keeping us up to date with what needed to be done and what they were doing. And then the evasive sequence afterwards was awesome, where they were weaving in and out of all the ships, trying not to get hit. It was great.
We've mentioned it before on this podcast, but one thing that I think is very important in modern Trek is to give viewers a sense of the size and scale of the areas and the environments that we're in, because it leads to world building. It reinforces narrative. It reinforces things that we might think we know, but having the fact on screen, the Prodigy is a small ship. I always knew it was small, but when you set it up next to a Sovereign class ship or Galaxy class vessel or the Dauntless, it is super tiny.
Yeah, and you get a sense of that in the early episodes when they show the crew quarters where it's just bunks. It's only the captain that has their own quarters.
Yes, it really goes a long way. And showing the Prodigy zipping by all these massive Starfleet vessels is just cool. I enjoyed it. Visually compelling.
It's obviously a temporary measure anyway, because there's no way they're going to evade them indefinitely, is there?
Right.
It's a matter of time before the shields go down.
Right. But for the sake of the story, it's good to see they're all trying.
Yeah, they basically don't want Starfleet to crumble and they don't want to be responsible for it. So they're doing everything they can to buy a bit of time to hopefully think of something, or maybe for Janeway to do something on the other end.
Oh, yes. I really enjoyed seeing Jellicoe come back.
Yeah, for his one line.
He's got his one line, but it works. It's good stuff. It feels like he's been part of the Star Trek franchise this whole time and he's never left. I don't know what it is about it, but it just feels like he's been a supporting character through every show. I can't explain why it makes me so happy to feel that way. It's just, here's this character that nobody liked from Star Trek The Next Generation. He did a couple of episodes and now they brought him back for this cameo. He's still the same person. He's the same character. He's got the same energy to him. It's delightful.
It is interesting to see Janeway getting told what to do because we're really not used to that.
And she's listening. Although in this case, she's in the brig. She can't listen that much.
It's more in the previous episode that Jellicoe appeared in. She was forced to listen to his orders. But Janeway spent 7 years just not having to follow anyone's orders. It was all up to her. And now she's part of a chain of command again.
It is an interesting dynamic for her, I'm sure. Sorry, where are we in the episode?
The evasive sequence, it gets to the point where the shields are about to go down and Gwen goes away to do something. She's going to sacrifice herself in some way. And there was another point of confusion for me. I wasn't clear what she was actually going to do. She just wandered off the bridge and says, I'm going to do something.
I'm going to buy you some time, is what she says.
Yeah, but how? What's she going to do?
She pulls out her blade thingy and she's like, I'm going to buy you some time. And then she goes to the armory to grab a phaser rifle. And Dal comes in.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woohooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, you know, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. That should brighten your day a little. Actually, a lot. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
To try and talk her out of it. Hey, wait a second. What are you doing? Where are you going? We have a moment. I think that a lot of people have been waiting for.
I liked their scene together because it makes sense since they're the ones with the history. No other characters in the show have any interaction before the Universal Translator started working and they essentially joined the Protostar crew. But Gwen and Dal knew each other and could talk to each other back on Tars Lamoras. So they have a history, albeit a bit of an adversarial one.
Yes, they do. And it kind of comes to fruition here. There's a moment where Gwen is getting ready to sacrifice herself. That's what I think is her driving motivation behind the scene, is that she thinks this is it. I'm either going to go down in the firefight or I am going to get captured and thrown in a Starfleet brig for the rest of my life. But we don't quite get that. Instead, the script flips a little bit and Dal plants a little kiss on her.
I quite like that. It was a misreading of signals on his part. And as soon as it happened, Gwen was like, whoa, what are you doing? What is this? And he apologizes for it. Yeah, sorry, I thought there was a moment, but clearly I was wrong. It was a good way of diffusing tension at that point.
Sure. Yeah. It kind of redirects the whole energy of the scene. Gwen kind of shakes it off, though. She doesn't even really address it.
No.
Which makes me think that she definitely is into it, but doesn't really want to address it right now.
Yeah. It's not the time or the place.
It's not the time or the place. To be fair, sure, maybe not. But also, you only live once. So YOLO.
And possibly not for much longer at this point.
And I mean, come on. You got this girl you've been looking after all this time. You really dig her. And in this big emotional moment, she says, I just want you to know. And you're like, come on. What else could it mean?
Well, it turns out, you're not allowed in Starfleet. That's what I want you to know.
You're not allowed in Starfleet. She tells Dal Starfleet doesn't allow augments into its admission. Do you agree with this decision by Gwen to tell Dal this at this point in time?
I think it's good that she tells him that because he does have to know. And from the point of view of they don't think they've got much time left, there's a necessity there that he just doesn't die with this kind of lie between them, or they don't die with this omission of information between them.
Yeah, I agree with that. It felt a little cheap at first. It's kind of like Gwen dashing his hopes a little bit, his hopes and dreams, and the whole reason he's fighting. And I'm thinking to myself, the reason he's fighting so hard is because he wants to join Starfleet. If you remove that motivation, what kind of unknown variable may occur? And it's, are you fighting for Starfleet to save them because you want to join them? Or is Gwen giving him the option to say, you know what, I can't join. This isn't my fight. Let me step away.
Yeah, and then his reaction's a far more mature one than even a few episodes ago Dal would have made. He decides that he's going to try and ensure that the people that he cares about gets in, even if he can't. So he sees himself as expendable, which is wrong-headed in a way because he's assigned all of his value, his self-value to joining Starfleet. But that's not all there is.
That's true. That is not all there is. I do like the moment he grabs a phaser rifle as a result and he says, if I can't join Starfleet, then I'll protect you so you can.
Yeah, and that shows growth for Dal because he's not as selfish as he once was. He made himself the captain because he wants to be the captain because he was selfish at that point, but now he's not. Now he understands the whole concept of leadership and understands that he has to act in the best interests of the people that he leads, and the best interests of the people that he leads, according to him in that moment, is to make sure they get in a Starfleet even though he can't.
Yes. And it's great thematically because you got to remember, Craig, even though we took a couple of months worth of a break, this is still season 1.
Yeah.
So we started episode 1. Dal was this little precocious, selfish, obnoxious, wisecracking kind of a guy. And now he's Starfleet captain material.
Yeah, or certainly Starfleet officer material, if not captain.
Sure.
But he's willing to go out fighting, protecting his crew, and that's a definite step forward for him. Even though, as I said, it's wrong-headed, and it's interesting that they're connected in that way, him and Gwen, because she doesn't think about how the rest of them will feel if she is to die in this fight. And Dal's thinking the same thing. He thinks, I'm expendable, whatever, no one will be bothered when I'm gone. They'll get to continue. But neither of them are thinking about the bond that they have with the others and the bond they have with them. So there's a blind spot there, which is great because these decisions are made on almost erroneous assumptions in a way.
That's true.
Which is great. It makes them flawed. It makes them interesting.
Yeah. And that speaks to Star Trek always holds a mirror up to our own humanity, right? And it kind of speaks to our own personhood where we may make decisions, we may choose certain paths based on information, but we don't always have all of the information. We don't always have the answers that are the correct answers to the right questions. Sometimes there's a mishmash there, and we have to work with the knowledge that we do have. So when you receive new knowledge, new information, you can reevaluate and you can pivot and you can say, okay, this path is not the right one. Let's move to the next one. That's something I always appreciate about television. The characters are usually better than the people we actually are. We can strive to be those people. So for kids watching, for teens, they see this character, he's making these snap judgments. They're either the right ones or the wrong ones, but you also have to act. And sometimes a decision is better than the right decision.
Yeah, and the choice is taken from them anyway when the shields go down because they spend so long talking.
The shields go down. We cannot allow the shields to go down because what's going to happen? There's a boarding party. Craig, this boarding party is not the Starfleet I thought was going to be boarding the ship.
No, it's the Vindicator and Dreadnought. They come aboard.
And the Diviner.
But as I said, it seems that the crew already knew that, even though they have no way of knowing that. They shouldn't really be worried about Starfleet coming over.
Yes. I mean, to the crew of the Prodigy, it kind of doesn't matter. They don't want anybody coming on board, let alone the Vindicator herself.
Well, they don't even know she exists at this point.
That is a good point. I am thinking about this now, and it is interesting that Gwyn didn't really seem to have a reaction to seeing the Vindicator.
No, which was odd. Who the hell are you? Or whatever. Should have at least been the beginning of it. But I guess she's in a bit of a fight or flight response. So she just, enemy, fight right now. That'll be it.
Enemy, fight. Yeah, that's fair. Pretty compelling stuff. These scenes when they get boarded and Dreadnought, the Vindicator, the Diviner, they all come on the ship and then the Dreadnought peels off to deal with the crew. It was really good animation, good visual, good everything. You see the crew grabbing the phaser rifles. They're getting into position. It reminded me a little bit of the end of Star Wars Rogue One, where you have all the rebel soldiers on the ship and they're getting ready for Darth Vader to come in. It really reminded me of that sequence, and it was effective. I felt the tenseness of the situation. I felt intimidated when Dreadnought came on screen. That was really good stuff.
Yeah, it was really cool. Just a really cool boarding sequence. And the fight they have in that corridor that lets you see the expansive outside, so you get to see the battle raging in the distance. Oh no, that hasn't happened yet, has it? But you get to see everything that's outside. Yeah,
you get the flashes of the phaser fire in the background of the corridor, which is leading to some of the lighting sets, which was unique and cleverly done. The editors and the directors definitely nailed it with the environment that they're in.
And then it's when the Starfleet ships start tearing each other apart, they've got a kind of front row seat of it because they're in that corridor. It underscores how much they've lost in that moment.
Yes. I thought it was really good that we had Murph off screen throughout the entire episode until he actually joins the fight with Dreadnought. It was a little silly. I could have done without Murph blowing raspberries and smacking his butt at Dreadnought. I get that it's for the kids and for them to ease the tension slightly. It wasn't for me. I accept that. I'm
worried about Murph becoming a bit of a crutch that the writers will end up leaning on whenever they're in a tense situation. He can just magic them out of it because he's invincible and can stretch and do all these things.
Yeah, we brought this up previously on the podcast, especially when Murph evolved into his current being. He's definitely not done. And it did occur to me that they may over-rely on Murph's seemingly limitless capability to handle any situation. But Dreadnought was prepared and took him out within a couple of moments.
Yeah, with the gravity grenade thing that he had, that was pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, the gravity grenade definitely gets Rock. Man, what's the Tellarite's name? Oh, my God.
Jankum Pog.
Jankum, thank you. I was going to say Jarmark. I don't know why. Jankum Pog and Rock get slammed to the ground by the gravity mine. Another cool use of technology and innovation in our science fiction stories, especially in Star Trek, because I feel like in Star Trek, we're all used to transporters. We're all used to shields. We've got programmable matter. We've got replicators. And sometimes you're wondering, well, what other kind of magic can they come up with? And here we have a gravity mine. I thought that was neat.
It expands it out a bit as well in terms of the franchise, because if you look at classic Star Trek, the person-to-person action was always a bit limited. It was either they would fire a couple of phaser volleys or they'd punch each other or whatever. You wouldn't see any of these really cool weapons that we're getting in here. but you would think they should exist.
Yes.
It wasn't until Enterprise that we got stun grenades, which is bizarre because we had the Dominion War. You'd think they would have grenades all over the place.
You would think that.
So it's a good expansion of the franchise in terms of, yeah, we do have all these extra toys that we can play with in combat situations. And hopefully they'll manifest that in some of the other stuff as well. I would like to see maybe in Strange New Worlds where they pack some grenades if they need to go on an action mission. I know it's not about action and violence and whatever, but inventing these things makes sense in the context of the world that they're living in.
I definitely agree with that. And you would think that Starfleet, with a mission of exploration, they would have more pacifying weapons. Stun grenades, a gravity mine makes total sense. Dr. McCoy always had his hypo sprays that could just put somebody to sleep within seconds. Of course, Spock always has his Vulcan nerve pinch. There's all different kinds of things that shows have used in the past to knock someone out. Usually it's just a chop to the neck, right? But it would be nice to see some technologically focused pacifying devices.
Yeah, which we're kind of getting here, so that's really cool. I suppose it's a bit video gamey, but makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I got the impression this was a boss fight. The big lead up mini boss to the final boss kind of a situation where the mini boss is actually harder than the actual boss fight.
Yeah. And obviously it all seems futile because the Vindicator opens up a hail to the fleet and then all hell breaks loose.
The Vindicator succeeds after finishing off the Diviner. The Diviner passes. John Noble, rest in peace. Not the actor, the character.
Yes, but he's probably still about in the alternate future timeline that exists because they still haven't resolved the Chakotay thing, so maybe he's still there. He'll certainly still be there in the present day for when they find the planet because they haven't done that yet.
Right. Oh, wow. Oh, Craig. Okay, the theories have begun. I'm getting excited. I'm starting to think a lot about how this show is going to go. So when the Vindicator opens these hails, the construct, this living weapon, it's designed to infiltrate and take over any other ship or station with a Starfleet signature. And not only does it do that, but it's designed to penetrate its defense protocols. So it also turns off the universal translator. So the crews of all the ships can no longer actually communicate with each other unless they are of the same species or they speak Federation standard, which I'm sure that everybody mostly has a passing knowledge of Federation standard. But nevertheless, what an incredible and also insidious detail that was put into the virus of this mechanism.
Well, it's really interesting because it ties into the Diviner's mantra of dividing people. He doesn't want people talking to each other because if they talk, they can resist. That was his shtick on Tars Lamora. And then they mentioned he taught Gwyn languages so that she could further push people apart. So that was the purpose of it. And then Gwyn using her knowledge of languages to actually bring people together. That's a great extension of the metaphor that is Gwyn being this good thing that comes from bad origins.
Yes, it was really good juxtaposition of utilizing her skill to bring the people together. When they all have this moment on the bridge, they realize they've lost communication with each other. They can no longer talk. You see Rock's eyes go wide with disbelief. Jankum is completely beside himself. You can see that hope is fading and it's fading fast. And then you have this great moment where Gwyn steps up. Suddenly she starts speaking Federation standard and Janeway is now back on the bridge of the Dauntless and she opens communication with the Prodigy. She speaks to Gwyn, tells her the reality of the situation, and kind of leaves it to Gwyn to communicate with Federation allies who have non-Starfleet signature ships. I loved this moment. This has to be my favorite moment in the show so far, where we get a big speech worthy of all of Starfleet's great captains, where Gwyn is pleading to the Federation allies, specifically a Klingon captain on board a bird of prey, and she's imploring them, please help, we beg you. And in the speech, she talks about how the Federation and Starfleet has always been a place where if you have felt like you had nowhere to go, you could be with them. And we have to keep that dream alive. It's an incredible moment in the show. I rewound it listen to it again. Definitely my favorite thus far. And honestly, if I'm being real with you, it's way more emotionally impactful than a lot of recent live action shows that have lent hard on these types of scenes where you have the captain delivering an address to the entire ship, and you get that multiple times in a season. We got that once here, and
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
it was really big.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. I think this show is doing what the live action shows are doing, but better. You made the Discovery comparison. You get these in Discovery almost every episode, it seems, where
Yes.
Burnham or whoever delivers an impassioned speech to the crew about how great they all are and how they should all pull together to solve this problem and things. It gets a bit trite after a while because they keep doing it.
Yes.
It doesn't have the impact because it's every other week, and it should be reserved for these pivotal moments. And that's what this is.
I was definitively referencing Discovery's knack for doing that, but I didn't want to say it outright, but you did. So there it is.
It's a beautifully written speech. It's beautifully performed by Ella Purnell as well. She delivers the hell out of that speech.
Yes.
I really liked the stylistic choice of overlaying Klingon with English.
Yes.
You're telling the audience what's going on through that. She's speaking Klingon, but you, the audience, you're hearing English.
Yes. And what's really cool is the camera starts on the right side of her face with the view screen in the background, and she's speaking Klingon to the Klingon. Then the camera rotates to the left side of her face, and then it switches to English, and you hear the transition between the two. That's really clever TV work. Love that.
A bit like Hunt for Red October in a way. They do something similar there to tell you that they're actually speaking Russian, but you're going to hear this from now on.
Yes.
So yeah, clever stuff.
Also, the Klingons coming to the rescue is just good Star Trek.
Yeah, you can never tell whether the Klingons actually like the Federation or not. Some of them do, some of them don't. There's always that slight distance they keep from the Federation. We'll work with you, but we don't want to join you.
Exactly. So the other ships start coming in. You've got Federation allies. You've got Ferengi. I heard something about a Gorn freighter ship.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
Yeah, right. It looks like we had some Vulcan science ships come in. Just a really good mishmash.
Yeah, just whatever CGI models they had flying around, I guess, that they could throw in.
Yeah, they just went into the CGI warehouse and just pulled something off the CGI shelf.
Yeah, and it's thematically impressive as well because it's giving you a practical example of what the Federation and Starfleet stand for and what Gwyn has learned about them as well. And it's the whole idea of telling these people it's better that the Federation's around than not. You may not agree with everything they do, but there's a fundamental truth that the galaxy is a better place with the Federation in it. And if you've ever benefited from the Federation, now's your chance to pay that forward. Now's your chance to give something back.
It's amazing stuff. And then, of course, you have moments where we flash to the corridor where the crew of the Prodigy, the crew of the Protostar. I do this all the time, Craig. I don't know about you. The crew of the Protostar is in the corridor. The ships are attacking each other. They finally get free of their bindings and they rush to the bridge of the Protostar. And Essentia and Dreadnought are gone.
Yeah, they escape in their little makeshift escape pod.
Yeah. Where do we think they went?
I don't know, a way to do something else awful, I guess.
Fair. They just kind of slipped out the back door.
Yeah, I thought the Vindicator was a bit of a weak villain overall. She was introduced well, and I understand her motivations, and I think her origins are sympathetic, but in this episode, she's just the mustache-twirling villain. She just does what she needs to do in order to get the plot moving forward, but there's no real nuance there. She's just a gear within the machine that is the plot. That's disappointing because we had this massive reveal, and oh god, I wonder what they're going to do with this, and now is that it? And I know she's going to come back, but I think for the point of view of this episode, she just felt like an obstacle that wasn't much more than an obstacle.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I was thinking about the name that she's given herself, the Vindicator. That's always been associated with righteousness, justified vengeance. It's also a phrase that people use when they're being cleared of blame. It's just an interesting villain name. The Vindicator is going back in time to make something right. And that is her driving force. She fully, completely believes that she's doing the right thing by her people and will stop at nothing. So she's got this righteous attitude, this justified attitude, and it's very personable for her, and this is her moment, and she's on top and she's winning. So there's no need to show nuance. There's no need to show dialogue at maybe Starfleet can change or do the right thing, or she can show emotion or depth. The time for that emotion of mourning the loss of her people, of mourning the loss of her own life because she had to come back here and take on this incredibly brave mission from her perspective, right? That's the villainy. We're in the final villain stage where there is no coming back from this. This is the genocidal moment for the Vindicator that is setting her up to be the ultimate bad guy. The Diviner was the ultimate bad guy until Tars Lamora, where he started to ingratiate himself amongst all these people and divide them and enslave them. And then he gets defeated by Zero, loses his memory, and he starts to have these moments on the Dauntless, kind of a soft reset almost of who he is. And even though if he gained his memories, if he was coached up in the right way, he might have become a good guy. And even still, at the very end, the Diviner tries to save his daughter. You could argue that there's nuance there, that even though he was a villain throughout the whole thing, he showed depth and emotion, whereas the Vindicator does not.
I don't have any issues with the handling of the Diviner in this show. I think that's been great. And I think the Vindicator is a different issue, but I think a lot of it comes from the fact that we haven't had much time with her as she truly is.
Yeah.
It was only revealed a couple of episodes ago, and then she doesn't do very much since then. I was just hoping for a bit more there in terms of just exploring that motivation, exploring why she feels the way she does, especially in this final moment where she gets to defeat Starfleet as far as she knows. She leaves thinking she's won, so she doesn't need to stick around anymore. Right, I've won, bye. There's nothing anybody can do about this now. I'm leaving.
Yep.
So I guess she'll be really annoyed when they inevitably resolve this in some way, because the show isn't going to end with Starfleet being destroyed from within, because we've seen Picard, which is set slightly after this, and Starfleet's fine. It's still there.
Yes.
Although, wouldn't this be as devastating as the Mars attack and the stuff that happened in Picard? Because,
man,
that's a lot of ships that get heavily damaged in this episode.
Yeah, that's something that's interesting to think about too. And it was in the back of my head throughout the episode. If all the shields are down on all the ships, they're just taking volley after volley of phasers and torpedoes. How come these ships aren't going supernova with warp core issues and destructions and self-destructions? That's another thing. Why didn't the construct just automatically self-destruct all the ships?
It maybe just can't. Maybe it can't get around all those kinds of safety protocols.
Could be.
Or maybe there's some kind of vindictive side of it. We want to see them tear themselves apart slowly. That's the point of this weapon. It's going to make them suffer while they die.
These people give themselves names. The Diviner, the Vindicator. They clearly have a penchant for the dramatic.
So, yeah, that makes perfect sense. And the Starfleet ships taking a lot of damage, well, that's inconsistent within the franchise anyway. Sometimes they're really strong. Sometimes they're made of tissue paper. Just depends what the plot needs at that point in time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you would expect them to be strong enough to take a few hits while the shields are down. But you see a lot of damage. You see a lot of actual hull damage.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty terrifying when the construct is showing the image of which ship it's taking over in those shots. Sometimes it would take over the Akira class ship or the Sovereign class ship or the Defiant itself, and it would dance between these. Then the scene would shift and show the phaser fire or the hull getting ripped apart.
Yeah, if there's anybody familiar to Deep Space Nine on the Defiant, they must be sitting there thinking, oh no, not again. Well, this isn't the last Defiant.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I think the final line of dialogue is it's annihilation. That is apt. Where we leave off in part one here, Craig, it is definitively an annihilation sequence.
I love the idea of when Starfleet ships are in trouble, they automatically send out a distress call. So another ship will pick up that distress call and they'll come in. It's this virus that's spreading throughout the Federation. There's nothing they can do about it. There's nothing they can do to warn anybody. Don't answer any distress calls. So they fly in, they get infected immediately.
How scary is that?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. You feel as though all hope is lost by the end of this episode. How much TV do we watch, Craig? Millions of hours worth of TV, movies. We automatically know that it's part of the story. It's part of how these things are written. We have to have that down moment where all hope is lost before we can have that moment of victory, right? But something about this is so well written that at the end of the episode, I'm just completely deflated.
Well, it does a great job of juggling stakes throughout the episode. There's the high points where they win or they have a win, and then there's the lower points where they lose again. So it just keeps zigzagging up and down between victory and defeat throughout until this final defeat at this, well, midway point as it is.
Yes. Where are we going next?
Good question. I don't know how they're going to stop the construct. If we were watching an episode of Voyager in its later seasons, there'd be some kind of technobabble. Oh, we're just going to send out a signal that'll wipe out this other signal. We've just come up with it from nowhere. But I think there's going to be a bit more of a character-driven conclusion here because that's what this show is. And we didn't had that. It was in the previous episode where the Dauntless was chasing them and they were talking about what we can do is we can reroute power to the main deflector to do whatever. And Jankum's like, nope, I don't know how to do that. And it's almost them laughing at that Voyager-esque technobabble solution. We're not doing that. That's off the table here. So I don't think they'll go down that route, but it does seem hopeless. So I don't know what the actual resolution could be.
The last time we fought a massively evil AI construct, we had to send the ship 1,000 years into the future to solve it. I don't think we can pull that cat out of the hat again.
I hope not.
I don't think so. You touched on something earlier, and I got excited because my brain started theorizing all these new things. Something about an alternative future. Where's Chakotay? Do you think that part of the solution involves us actually seeing in the timeline the Starfleet armada being destroyed? We've seen this before in other episodes where there's a sudden time travel moment and the Federation and all that you know is now gone. We've had that in Guardian of Forever. We've had that in First Contact. It's not the first time that we've seen the villain win in the first part of the episode. So do you think that there's a similar thing happening here?
So as in a reset button, I really hope not. I hate reset buttons. So it'd be they ultimately lose and then, I don't know, maybe Chakotay does something that fixes it because he's still stuck in the future at this point in time with his crew.
Yeah, that's where my head's at, Craig. Chakotay's still out there. What if Chakotay now comes back? Or do we jump forward to Chakotay? Because we got to chase down the Vindicator and Dreadnought.
Which may happen next season or it may happen in the next episode. I don't know. I really hope they don't do the reset button thing because I want there to be consequences to this. So I want the damage that's been inflicted on Starfleet to stick because it's happened and it's part of the emotional wrangling that the crew are dealing with. So I feel like that should stick. Not that it necessarily will, but it should. And it's interesting how high stakes this all is. I mentioned earlier the attack on Mars that you hear about in Picard, and obviously this incident hasn't been mentioned because I guess they only just came up with it for this show. But this would be devastating if it sticks.
Yeah, it would be. The loss of ships, the loss of lives.
It's almost like Wolf 359, actually.
Yes, very much so.
It's on that scale. And I was thinking that when I saw the amount of ships and then they just start tearing lumps out of each other. And they don't address the deaths that will be happening on board, but you know they'll be happening.
Yeah, there's definitely countless casualties. And there's also the emotional trauma of the whole situation. You can't just walk away from that either. If Starfleet turned on itself, a virus was able to be made that could do this. How is this possible? So there's definitive fallout that would need to be addressed. But then again, Starfleet was taken over, completely taken over by parasites. We don't address that anymore either. It's in a log. It's a course you got to take at the academy, and that's it.
Remember when parasites took over high levels of the Federation? Remember that happened. Or remember when a Starfleet admiral tried to commit a coup before the Dominion War? Remember that happened? Maybe we just won't teach that at the academy.
Yeah. What about that? I just won't teach that one. Or the one admiral who wanted the Fountain of Youth and was willing to genocide an entire people for it.
Or when Sisko was an accessory to killing a Romulan senator in order to trick them at going into the war. How about that?
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
How about that? There's a lot of dirty stuff that goes on here.
It's also the same Starfleet security issues that we've always had, how easy their ships are to hack, apparently.
Oh, yeah. That just moves at the speed of plot.
It's always the same, isn't it? Whenever in any of the shows where someone steals a shuttle, they're opening the shuttle bay doors, let's lock them out. Well, I can't. Why not? It's your ship. How are they better than you using your ship?
Yep. Great episode. I enjoyed it top to bottom. Some minor quibbles that we already talked about. One thing that I really liked in this episode was when you had Janeway in the brig imploring the ensign to let her out. And the ensign does let her out. And there's this moment where the ensign says, I do remember you on the Voyager. You remember this one situation where they were hunting down the refugees and you allowed the refugees to escape. Well, I was one of those refugees. I'm alive because of you. And now I'm a member of Starfleet. Lets Janeway out of the brig, hands her comm badge again. And you've got this great moment. And that was really impactful. It was very emotional. And I love the idea, just that simple touch base moment where you bring in a previous story into a modern episode. You touch on it. You show a real consequence, a good consequence of the actions of the captain, Janeway, in a previous episode. Great callback.
And it was from Counterpoint, that episode being referenced.
Counterpoint, yes.
Which is apparently Kate Mulgrew's favourite episode of Voyager as well. So it's interesting that they referenced that one specifically.
Oh, wow. I wonder if that was on purpose.
I imagine it must have been, yeah. But it also fit in with what they were telling here. And it's great to think about the influence that Janeway has had on others as she ran through the Delta Quadrant, getting involved in various things. I imagine there's some less positive reactions to what Janeway did out there. We saw that in Voyager, funnily enough, where the Dauntless was concerned. There was an alien that was so annoyed at Janeway that she wanted to feed her to the Borg.
Yes.
So the Dauntless is a bit of a reminder of that almost.
Yeah, no kidding. Great episode, Craig. I'm excited for the finale. It's going to be huge. I don't know how I'm going to react, but you and I are coming back to talk about the finale. So
yes,
there you have it.
I wanted to talk about the Diviner's sacrifice because we didn't actually cover that.
Oh, that's true.
I thought it was really well done because it suited the way the Diviner was developing, as in he'd softened slightly while being on the Dauntless with his slight reset. And I think they did the right thing by him stepping up to save Gwyn rather than save Starfleet, because I don't quite believe that he comes round to their way of thinking after such a short time. But I can believe that he cares about Gwyn, because that's been well established. In his own way, he cares about her. He gave her a brutal upbringing to prepare her to be a survivor. That's his motivation for bringing her up in the way that he did.
Yeah, and his sacrifice to allow her to have a final moment there, against all odds, he knew that this was it, and it was time to show up. And he really did. I won't lie, I got a little emotional over it. It was well done. It was a good sacrifice. Nothing but good things to say.
I found it most interesting because they lean into how complex their relationship is. From the point of view of Gwyn hates him, but she also loves him. It's that weird dichotomy she has in how she feels about him. That constantly comes up. She wants validation from him, but she also wants to escape him. She wants those two things, and those two things don't connect. Those two things just can't coexist. And even when he dies, it's not that she forgives him for all he did, and it's not that the show forgives him either, because he enslaved people. He has probably killed a lot of people. He's done all these horrible things, and it's not that he's suddenly redeemed, but it's just proven that, at least in that final moment, he did right by Gwyn. And it's even mentioned afterwards, my father taught me languages to divide people. That plainly tells you that she is not forgiving him. But you can love someone without actually liking them. She cares about him and she mourns his passing, but she still hates what he did and still hates what he stood for.
It's complicated, and life is complicated. Love is complicated. Relationships are complicated. This is why I keep saying we refer to this show as a kid's show, but it's really not. I think that's really important distinction that I'm going to keep bringing up every time we talk about Star Trek Prodigy, because of how important it is for adults to hear this kind of thing. In our own adult lives, there are a lot of heavy, complicated situations. And sometimes as humans, as people, we are so stubborn and stuck in our ways that we can't really look outside of what we currently feel. If we are hurt, if we feel offended by something, we want to lash out and react to that. And sometimes we have to take a step back and be like, why am I being hurt right now? What exactly is it? Can I find a way through this? And that's complicated. It's hard. Yeah. It's very difficult to parse through your emotions like that. Even your partner or your loved one, they might lash out of faulty information or fear or anxiety. Right now, anxiety is probably the number one thing affecting a lot of us here today for different kinds of various reasons. And that puts pressure on us mentally. And sometimes we react differently to those around us. And understanding that it's okay to make mistakes as long as we come back around to try and right them. And I think that's what the show is really doing well, is instructing these moral lessons that I think a lot of Star Trek fan base always wants to hear, right? They're like, oh, we want the morality play. This is exactly that. We are getting that big morality play that helps to reinforce what we already know, communicate, forgive. You don't have to forget, but we have to move forward too. And Gwyn's moment where, like you said, she said on the bridge, my father taught me these languages to divide. I'm going to use it to bring people together. Hell yeah.
That's her owning her grief, isn't it? She's taking it on herself to understand that she can still mourn the loss of her father, even though she has a lot of hate for him at the same time. Just because you don't get along with someone, just because you have issues with someone, just because they mistreat you or whatever, doesn't mean you end up not caring about them. Like I said, that's part of the underlying complexity of this relationship. And that's what Gwyn has been struggling with ever since she ran away from him.
Yeah.
Which is something I just find really fascinating. It's just really complex, interesting character development. And it's something that doesn't get resolved with a speech at the end of an episode, because it just keeps coming up and it keeps developing and it keeps changing a little bit. Whereas some of the other shows, they're very guilty of the character starts off with an emotional problem. They have a meaningful conversation with someone at the midpoint of the episode, and then by the end of the episode, they're over it. They'll move on to something else next week. Whereas this, it's the same thing, but it's evolving over the course of the season. Which is proper serialized character-driven storytelling. I know that when Strange New Worlds was coming out, there was the question of how do we do episodic storytelling in a modern context? And the answer is that the characters remember what happened and the characters continue to develop even though they're doing different things every week. And I don't think Strange New Worlds necessarily nailed that, but that's what they're doing here. They're giving you these same characters getting into different scenarios, different situations, different obstacles to overcome, and they are learning and growing each week, and you can plot out that journey for all of them. I think some of them are less featured than others. Gwyn and Dal are definitely your mains here, with everyone else getting a little bit of stuff here and there. But certainly with those two, you can plot out their evolution from episode 1 to now. And you can see where they learn things and where they grew and where they take steps back, all those things. I think it's masterfully done.
It really is. This is a phenomenal show. I can't say anything highly enough.
Still my favorite modern Star Trek, completely. It's not that I hate the other ones. Obviously, I have issues with them. I have issues with this show. I have issues with everything. That's just the way I am. But this one, I have fewer issues than I do the other ones. So I do wonder if the live action producers need to up their game a little bit.
Yeah, not for nothing. Sometimes you just got to go back to basics. What the lesson really is go back to basics. Craig, I really enjoyed this episode. I can't wait to talk the part 2 finale with you. That should be good. We are scheduled for next week, and I will set alarms and ensure that will happen. But yeah, thank you for having me, Craig. This was a great chat.
No worries. Also, as a final thing, I wonder if "We Can't Stop the Signal" was a reference to Serenity. I wonder if that was deliberate there.
I don't know. That flew way under the radar for me.
They say it twice, I think, and I picked up on it both times. And I'm like, there's got to be a Serenity reference. Someone on the writing team must love Firefly. And why wouldn't you? Because there's almost a Firefly vibe to this show anyway.
Yeah, there's a little bit. In
terms of the sort of ragtag group of misfits all working together somehow, which is what we thought we were going to get with Picard, actually, in season 1, but it didn't end up happening. But anyway, part 1, great. Part 2, let's hope they stick the landing. We'll find out next week. Well, we'll find out in 5 minutes, or we can find out in 5 minutes.
We can, but will we?
But we'll record our thoughts on it next week.
We'll record our thoughts on it next week. I know you're chomping at the bit to finish.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's been killing me. It's been absolutely killing me, just not being able to consume this final episode. But yeah, Mike, thank you for joining for the penultimate episode of season 1 of Prodigy. We're finally at the end. It feels like the show has been running forever. This season's been running forever.
It does, but I don't hate it.
Well, I hate the gaps. The gaps are insane. Why don't you tell the listeners where else they can find you on the internet?
Oh, yes. You can find me. My name is Mike Slamer, at Mike Slamer on Twitter for as long as Twitter lasts. I'm currently looking for the eject button on that.
The living construct has taken over Twitter.
Yeah, pretty much. You're not wrong about that. You can also find my website, MikeSlamermusic.com. I do some music. I've got other things in the works, some videos out there. So that's pretty fun. I only say that now because, like I said, Twitter might be going the way of the dodo, which is thematically on brand for them, I suppose. That's about it. You can find the show We Are Starfleet at Starfleet Pod, both on Twitter and Instagram. That's where we post all the show updates, announcements, things of that nature. And of course, you can't forget finding us on the WeMadeThisNetwork.com podcast page, our website over there. We are part of the We Made This Network. We have a ton of fellow podcasters. Craig, that's how you and I got involved, starting to talk, and it's been great.
Yeah, and I think it's we_made this on Twitter as well to find the We Made This Network. There's also a Patreon if you want to throw in a couple of bucks, a couple of quid, a couple of whatever your currency of choice is. You can throw it in and become part of funding this network of diverse shows. Personally, I can be found outside of the network under Neil Before Blog, so that's neilbeforeblog.co.uk. I'm reviewing Prodigy, and I was reviewing the Winchesters. It's now finished for Christmas, so that'll be back in the new year. And the odd film review as well. And there's an attached podcast. By the time you listen to this, the Christmas episode will be out. The Christmas episode is where we try and come up with the outline of our own Christmas movie, which was a lot of fun to do. It's chaotic, it's insane, but well worth a listen. It's very funny. And I can say that without seeming arrogant because there were other people there that were very funny. So therefore, it's still true that it's very funny. So listen to that. And you can hear us talk about Black Panther, Marvel movies, everything all over there. So similar content you'll find on We Made This, except slightly different format. So you can find me there. And as obligated to do on Twitter, you can find me under Nemesis4909, which is not originally a Star Trek reference. It was originally a Resident Evil reference, then became a Star Trek reference. Neil Before Blogs on Facebook and Twitter as well. Type that in, you'll find it. And that is it. We Made This, as mentioned, is everywhere. And you can hear a snippet of something else from the network in just a moment when I'm finished talking. But until next time, that is it for the USS Protostar, preparing for its final of Season 1 adventure.
Welcome to the third age of podcasting.
The name of the podcast
is A Dream Given Form,
a show about J. Michael Straczynski's Babylon 5
for the We Made This podcast network.
Join us in 2022 as we look back at themes and ideas from across the show's history.
Today we're going to be discussing the three prominent leaders of Babylon 5, Sinclair, Sheridan and Delenn.
Everything from Earth and the Shadows and Minbari all the way through from early days of Season 1 all the way through to the Interstellar Alliance, and it's their legacy. Interstellar Alliance is really the legacy of these three characters. We are kind of going to potentially some scary territory here, looking at the parallels between Earth Force and Babylon 5 and the real world in which we live in now.
It is a really insidious way of doing things, and the more I think about it and the more I watch that scene and the way that Pierce speaks and talks about it, it really just fills me with chills because, you know, our politicians do this all the time. They talk like this all the time and they hide their true intention behind false promises. Current situation with the potential reboot of Babylon 5 for the CW network.
He's been involved in comic writing, he's been for Spider-Man, he's done shows like Sense8, which is very progressive as well. He's going to bring all that experience into the project, so I think it's going to be a very different show. And even some special guests too. Lead to herself, Patricia Torman.
I love hearing that people are still interested in Babylon 5, and, you know, it's really an honor to continue the conversation around a show that meant so much to us. And, you know, it's the little show that could.
Yeah. And then in 2023, join us for the 30th anniversary of Babylon 5 as we start fortnightly look-backs at The Gathering Season 1 and beyond.
So, join us for A Dream Given Form.
Our last best hope for peace.